The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive sphere of crystalline material that caught the light of distant stars. Inside, representatives from 847 species sat in their designated sections. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had bodies made of flesh, others of pure energy. They had gathered for their meeting that happened only once every 1,000 years. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood at the center speaking platform. His dark suit looked plain compared to the exotic forms around him. He had been Earth's representative for 5 years now, and he knew how the other species saw humanity. Young, inexperienced, barely worth noticing. Today, none of that mattered. Today, Earth was dying. The enemy fleet entered our solar system 3 hours ago, Hyunwoo said. His voice carried through translation devices to every corner of the chamber. They have already destroyed our outer defense stations. Mars colony is evacuating. We are requesting immediate military assistance under Protocol 7 of the Mutual Defense Agreement. A low rumble of conversation filled the chamber. Hyunwoo waited, his hands gripping the edge of the platform. Back home, his wife and daughter were boarding evacuation ships. His son commanded a defense station near Jupiter. Every second he spent here was a second his people fought alone. Counselor Vanara rose from her seat. She was made of living crystal, her body reflecting rainbow colors as she moved.
Ambassador Hyunwoo, the Council sympathizes with Earth's situation.
However, we must consider the facts carefully. The facts are simple, Hyunwoo interrupted. The Devourers are attacking my world. They will kill billions of people. The Council has the power to stop them. Another counselor stood. Thalrix was old, even by galactic standards. His reptilian species had been part of the Council for 50,000 years. The Devourers have destroyed 23 civilizations in the past millennium. They are a force unlike any other. We do not engage them lightly. Then don't engage them lightly, Hyunwoo said. Engage them with everything you have. My people are dying right now. Vanara's crystalline form pulsed with soft light. Earth has been a provisional member of this council for only 50 years. In galactic terms, that is nothing. Your species is still learning basic spatial navigation. You have no significant military force. You contribute little to council operations. Hyunwoo felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced it down. So we don't deserve help because we're young? Because we haven't had thousands of years to build empires? It is not about deserving, Thalrix said. His voice was tired, ancient. It is about resources and risk. The Devourers are machine intelligence. They adapt. They learn. They consume. If we send our fleets to defend Earth, we may lose them. And for what? To save a species that may not survive anyway? You're saying we're not worth the risk, Hyunwoo said quietly. Silence fell over the chamber. No one spoke, but the answer hung in the air like poison. Vanara touched her console. The Council will vote on military intervention for Earth. All in favor? Hyunwoo watched the massive display screen. Green lights appeared across the chamber as species voted. He counted them, 25, 50, 100. The number climbed to 126, then stopped. All opposed? Red lights flooded the screen. 721 votes against helping Earth. The motion fails, Vanara announced. The Council will not intervene in the Earth situation. Hyunwoo stood frozen at the platform. He had expected this, but hearing it still felt like a physical blow. You're condemning my entire species to death. We are making a difficult choice, Vanara said. The Council has survived for millions of years because we make logical decisions, not emotional ones. Earth is one world. The Council represents thousands. We cannot risk everything for one small planet. Other counselors began rising from their seats. The meeting was over. They had made their decision and now they would move on to other business. Hyunwoo was no longer important. He pulled out his communication device as he walked toward the exit. Messages flooded the screen. His hands shook as he read them. Jupiter station destroyed. Casualties in the thousands. Devourer forces breaching Saturn defense ring. Mars colony ships under attack. Civilian casualties mounting. Earth Command requesting status on Council assistance. Hyunwoo stopped at the chamber doors. He turned back to face the counselors who were still filing out. Most ignored him. A few looked at him with what might have been pity. You will regret this, Hyunwoo said. His voice was quiet, but it carried across the chamber. Thalrix paused at his seat. Is that a threat, Ambassador? No, Hyunwoo said. It's a promise. Humanity will survive this. We always do. And when we do, we will remember who stood with us and who left us to die." He walked out of the chamber without waiting for a response. Captain Jiwon stood on the command deck of Defense Station Alpha, watching the screens with growing horror. The Devourer fleet was massive, bigger than anything in the history files. Thousands of ships, each one the size of a city, moving in perfect formation. "Status report," Jiwon said. Her second officer checked his console. "Jupiter station is gone. Saturn ring is holding, but won't last long. Mars evacuation is 60% complete. Earth orbital defenses are at full readiness." Jiwon nodded slowly. They had 200 combat ships. The Devourers had thousands. The math was simple and terrible. "Any word from the ambassador?" she asked. "Just came through," the communications officer said. The council voted no. "We're on our own." The command deck went silent. Everyone had hoped, despite everything, that the council would help. That the older species would remember what it was like to face extinction. "Well then," Jiwon said, "I guess we do this ourselves. Send a message to all ships. Tell them the council abandoned us. Tell them we're alone. And tell them that doesn't change a damn thing. We're still going to fight." She pulled up the tactical display. The Devourer fleet was crossing Mars orbit now. In 6 hours they would reach Earth. "All stations prepare for combat," Jiwon ordered. "And someone get me Admiral Minho. It's time to show these machines what humanity is made of." Outside the station, stars glittered in the darkness. The Devourer fleet moved forward like a wave of death. And between them and Earth, a tiny force of human ships began to move into position. The battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. Admiral Minho watched the enemy fleet approach on the massive tactical display. He had spent 40 years in military service, fought in 3 wars, and commanded fleets across the solar system. Nothing had prepared him for this moment. "They're not slowing down," his tactical officer said. "Devourer formation is maintaining speed. They'll reach engagement range in 40 minutes. Minho touched his communication badge. "All ships, this is Admiral Minho. The council has refused to help us. We knew this might happen. We prepared for it. Today we show the galaxy what humanity can do when pushed to the wall." He closed the channel and looked at the woman standing beside him. Dr. Yunji wore a white lab coat over her military uniform. She looked tired. She had every right to be. For the past 10 years she had worked 20-hour days on Project Nightfall. "Are we ready?" Minho asked. Yunji nodded. "Phase 1 is ready. The solar collectors are in position. We can fire when you give the order." "And the other phases?" "Phase 2 will be ready in 2 hours. Phase 3, she paused. "Phase 3 is ready, but I hope we don't need it." Minho understood. Phase 3 was the weapon they had built in absolute secret. The weapon that violated 3 galactic laws. The weapon that could end the battle, but at a terrible cost. "Let's hope we don't," he agreed. On Titan, Lieutenant Daeho sat in his fighter cockpit running final checks. Around him, 50 other pilots did the same. They were the Titan Squadron, the best fighter group in the fleet. They also knew they probably wouldn't survive the next few hours. "All systems green," Daeho reported. "Ready for launch." His squadron leader's voice came through the radio. "Good, remember your training. The Devourers are fast, but they're predictable. They use swarm tactics. Stay together, watch each other's backs, and don't try to be a hero." Daeho smiled grimly. In a few minutes they would all be heroes or they would all be dead. There wasn't much middle ground. The launch bay doors opened. Space beckoned beyond, cold and infinite. Daeho could see the Devourer fleet now with his own eyes. They looked like a swarm of insects, black against the stars. "All fighters launch," the squadron leader ordered. Daeho pushed his throttle forward, and his fighter shot into space. 50 others followed. They formed up and accelerated toward the enemy. Back on Earth, the evacuation continued. Cities that had stood for thousands of years emptied in hours. Billions of people moved underground, into shelters that had been built in secret over the past 50 years. Nobody had questioned why governments suddenly invested in deep Earth construction. Nobody had wondered why so many resources went into underground facilities. They knew now. Humanity's leaders had seen this coming. They had prepared. Sora was an artificial intelligence, the most advanced computer system ever created by humans. She coordinated Earth's defense network from a bunker 3 kilometers underground. Thousands of systems reported to her every second. She processed it all and made decisions faster than any human could. "Enemy fleet entering Mars orbit," Sora reported. "First wave consists of approximately 3,000 ships. Second wave is holding position at asteroid belt. Third wave is not yet visible but estimated at 5,000 ships minimum. Admiral Minho absorbed this information. How long until they reach Earth? 4 hours and 16 minutes at current speed, Sora said. Then we start now. Yunji, activate Phase 1. Dr. Yunji sat at her console and entered a series of commands. Around the sun, thousands of satellites began to move. They had been placed over the past 20 years during what humans called the Solar Research Initiative. Other species had barely noticed. They were just studying the sun after all, but they weren't just satellites. They were mirrors, massive, precise mirrors that could focus the sun's energy like a lens. Solar shield is active, Yunji reported, targeting first wave of Devourer fleet. On the tactical display, bright lines appeared connecting the sun to the approaching enemy ships. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were just mirrors reflecting and focusing natural sunlight. But when that much solar energy concentrated on one point, it became deadly. The first Devourer ship hit by the focused beam simply vaporized. Then the second. Then 10 more. The mirrors adjusted and moved, tracking targets with perfect precision. Direct hits on 47 enemy vessels, Sora reported. They're starting to scatter. But the Devourers were learning. Their formation broke apart, ships moving in random patterns to make targeting harder. And they were fast. Within minutes, they adapted their shields to reflect some of the solar energy. They're adjusting, Yunji said. Solar shield effectiveness dropping to 40%, 30%, 20%. Minho nodded. He had expected this. The Devourers were machine intelligence. They learned from every encounter. That's what made them so dangerous. All ships engage at will, Minho ordered. Show them what we've got. The human fleet moved forward. 200 ships against thousands. But these weren't ordinary ships. For 50 years, humans had studied every weapon system in the galactic database. They had found the best designs, improved them, and built them in secret. Plasma cannons that could punch through most shields. Missile systems that could track targets across millions of kilometers. Electronic warfare systems that could jam enemy communications. And, most importantly, coordination that only humans seemed capable of. Other species fought as individuals, each ship making its own decisions. Humans fought as one mind. Every ship connected through Sora's network. They moved like a single organism, supporting each other, covering weaknesses, maximizing strengths. Lieutenant Deho's fighter group hit the Devourer formation like a knife. They flew in perfect formation, each pilot knowing exactly where the others were without looking. Their weapons fired in coordinated volleys, overwhelming enemy shields through sheer concentration of fire. Target down, Deho reported as a Devourer ship exploded, moving to next target, but there were so many of them. For every enemy ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. Deho's squadron fought brilliantly, but they were being surrounded. This is Titan Leader, his squadron commander said. We're not breaking through. Recommend we fall back. Negative, Deho replied. He saw something on his sensors. A large Devourer command ship coordinating the others. I have a shot at their command vessel. Requesting permission for attack run. Permission denied, the commander said. You'll never make it through. Deho looked at his fuel gauge and weapon status. He had enough for one run. Maybe. I'm sorry, sir, he said, but I'm going anyway. He broke formation and accelerated toward the command ship. Behind him, he heard his squadron leader cursing, then ordering the others to cover him. Deho's fighters screamed through space, dodging fire from dozens of enemy ships. His shields took hit after hit, dropping to 50%, then 25%. Warning alarms filled his cockpit. He ignored them all. The command ship grew larger in his view screen. He locked all his remaining missiles on target and fired. 20 missiles streaked toward the enemy vessel. The Devourer point defense systems destroyed most of them, but 3 got through, slamming into the command ship's hull. It didn't explode, but it staggered, its shields flickering. All ships focus fire on that command vessel, Admiral Minho ordered. Now. Every human ship in range turned their weapons on the damaged Devourer. Under the concentrated assault, its shields failed and the ship broke apart. Deho pulled up hard, trying to escape the debris field. His fighter spun wildly, systems failing. He thought he was dead. Then strong hands grabbed his ship with a tractor beam. A larger human vessel pulled him clear of the battle. Titan 7, you are one crazy pilot, a voice said over the radio. But nice shooting. Deho slumped in his seat, exhausted. He had survived. Somehow he had survived. But the battle was far from over. The Devourers were adapting again, changing their tactics, and Admiral Minho watched as the second wave began to move forward. All ships fall back to Earth orbit, he ordered. It's time for Phase 2. Yunji, are we ready? Dr. Yunji checked her screens and nodded. Shadow Fleet is standing by. They're ready when you are. Minho took a deep breath. This was it. Time to show the galaxy what humanity had really been building for the past 50 years. Activate Phase 2, he ordered. Let's give them something to remember. General Yuna stood in the command center deep beneath the lunar surface. Luna Base 7 was the most secret facility humanity had ever built. Not even most government leaders knew its full purpose. Only a handful of people understood what lay in the chambers below. Shadow Fleet is launching now, her operations officer reported. On the screens above, Yuna watched as sections of the lunar surface opened. Ships emerged, dozens of them, then hundreds. They looked different from standard human vessels. Sleeker, darker, almost invisible against the black of space. These were the ships humanity had built in absolute secrecy. Ships that used technology the Council said was impossible. Ships that broke rules the galaxy thought were unbreakable. Admiral Minho's voice came through the speakers. Shadow Fleet, this is Admiral Minho. You are cleared for combat operations. Show them what you can do. Commander Nari sat in the lead ship of Shadow Fleet. She had trained for this moment for 10 years, practicing maneuvers that other species said couldn't be done. Her crew was the best of the best, volunteers who knew they might never get recognition for their service. All ships engage stealth systems, Nari ordered. Around her ship, space seemed to bend. The stealth system didn't make them invisible exactly. It made them uncertain. Using principles of quantum mechanics, the ships existed in multiple positions at once. Targeting systems couldn't lock on because the ships weren't quite there. Stealth active, her tactical officer reported. Enemy sensors are confused. They can't track us. Good, Nari said. All ships attack pattern Delta. Let's hit them hard. The Shadow Fleet moved through the Devourer formation like ghosts. Enemy ships fired at where the human vessels had been seconds ago, hitting nothing but empty space. Meanwhile, the Shadow Fleet's plasma lance weapon struck with devastating accuracy. A plasma lance wasn't like normal weapons. It didn't shoot projectiles or beams. It created a thin line of superheated plasma that extended from the ship to the target almost instantly. Nothing could block it. Nothing could dodge it. The only defense was to not be there when it fired, but the Devourers couldn't predict where the Shadow Fleet would be. Their sensors showed multiple possible positions for each human ship. By the time they chose which position to defend, the lance had already struck. Direct hit on enemy cruiser, the tactical officer reported. Target destroyed. Moving to next target. Across the battlefield, the Shadow Fleet carved through the Devourer formation. Dozens of enemy ships exploded or drifted dead in space. For the first time since the battle began, the machine seemed uncertain. On Earth, the situation was different. Some Devourer ships had broken through the orbital defense and reached the surface. They landed in major cities, deploying ground forces to capture or destroy population centers. Sergeant Kang led his squad through the ruins of what had been downtown Seoul 6 hours ago. The Devourers had landed 3 massive ships in the city center. Their ground forces, mechanical constructs the size of tanks, were spreading through the streets. Contact 200 meters, one of his soldiers reported. Kang raised his hand and his squad stopped. They wore powered armor that made each soldier stronger than any vehicle. The armor could lift cars, punch through concrete walls, and survive direct hits from most weapons. It had taken decades to develop and cost more than most spacecraft. Remember your training, Kang said. These things are tough, but they're not invincible. Aim for the joints and power cores. Stay together and watch your sectors. His squad moved forward in perfect formation. The Devourer machines detected them and opened fire. Bullets and energy beams filled the street. Kang's armor took several hits, the impacts jarring but not penetrating. Engaging, he said calmly. His armor's weapon systems activated. Built-in plasma rifles extended from his forearms. Micro-missile launchers emerged from his shoulders. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a walking tank. The squad opened fire. Plasma bolts struck the Devourer machines, melting armor and destroying internal systems. Missiles tracked targets around corners, finding weak points with precision. Within 30 seconds, 5 enemy units were destroyed. Push forward, Kang ordered. We need to reach their landing ship and take it out. Similar battles raged across the planet. Human forces in powered armor fought Devourer ground troops in dozens of cities. The machines had numerical advantage, but humans had superior equipment and tactics. Most importantly, humans had desperation. This was their world, their home. They would die before letting it fall. Ambassador Hyun Woo watched the battle from the council chamber's observation deck. He had stayed after the vote, wanting to witness what happened next. Some counselors had stayed too, curious about Earth's fate. Now they watched in stunned silence as the screen showed the battle unfolding. "Those ships," Counselor Thalric said quietly. "How are they avoiding targeting systems?" "Quantum uncertainty drives," Hyunwoo said. "We read about them in your archives. Your species said they were theoretical. Impossible to build." "They are impossible," Thalric insisted. "The power requirements alone would need a star's output." "We figured it out," Hyunwoo said. "We had 50 years and very good motivation." On the screen, another wave of Shadow Fleet ships tore through the Devourer formation. The machines were trying to adapt, but they couldn't adapt to weapons that broke the rules of normal spacetime. Counselor Venara moved closer to the display. Her crystalline body pulsed with agitated light. "Those weapons, the plasma lances, where did you get the designs?" "From you," Hyunwoo said. "Well, from the Kelvorian Empire. They submitted the designs to the Council Weapons Database 3,000 years ago. The Council classified them as too dangerous for general use." "Those weapons are banned," Venara said. "For Council species," Hyunwoo agreed. "Earth isn't a full member, remember? You voted on that today. So technically, we're not bound by weapons restrictions." He said it calmly, but there was an edge to his voice. The counselors heard it and said nothing. On Earth, Dr. Yunji monitored the battle from her command station. Phase 2 was working better than expected. The Shadow Fleet had destroyed over 600 enemy ships with minimal losses. But the Devourers were learning. They were starting to use area effect weapons, spraying entire regions of space with fire to hit the uncertainty-shielded ships. "Shadow Fleet is taking casualties," she reported to Admiral Minho. "They're adapting to our tactics." "Expected," Minho said. "How long until Phase 3 is ready?" Yunji checked her console. "Singularity missiles are armed and ready, but Admiral, once we use these, there's no going back. Every species in the galaxy will know what we've done." Minho looked at the tactical display. The Devourers still had thousands of ships. Earth's forces had fought brilliantly, but they were outnumbered 10-1. Phase 3 might be the only way to win. "Prepare the missiles," he ordered, "but don't fire yet. Let's see if we can do this without them." Lieutenant Daeho was back in his fighter, repaired and refueled. His squadron had been reinforced with fresh pilots and better weapons from the lunar bases. They flew escort for the Shadow Fleet now, protecting the larger ships from Devourer fighters. "All squadrons, we have a priority target," Sora's voice announced. "Enemy hive ship detected at coordinate 774 Mark 18. This ship is coordinating the entire Devourer fleet. If we destroy it, the rest may go dormant." Daeho checked his navigation. The hive ship was deep in the enemy formation, surrounded by hundreds of escorts. "That's a suicide mission," someone said over the radio. "Maybe," Admiral Minho's voice cut in. "But it's also our best chance to end this. Who's volunteering?" Daeho looked at his controls. He thought about his family in the underground shelters, his friends fighting on the ground, the billions of people counting on them to win. "Titan 7 volunteering," he said. "Titan 9 volunteering. Titan 12 volunteering." Within seconds, 50 pilots had volunteered. Minho's voice was thick with emotion when he spoke. "Shadow Fleet will provide cover. All volunteer squadrons form up and prepare for attack run. And pilots, thank you. All of humanity thanks you." The volunteer fighters formed up behind a wedge of Shadow Fleet cruisers. Together they accelerated toward the heart of the enemy formation. In the council chamber, the observers watched this new development with growing amazement. Counselor Thalric leaned forward, his ancient eyes fixed on the screen. "They're going to try for the hive ship," he said. "My people tried that once. We lost 3 entire fleets." "How many ships did you send?" Hyunwoo asked. 1,500 of our best warships. We're sending 200 ships and 50 fighters, Hyunwoo said. That's insane, Vanara said. They'll be destroyed. Hyunwoo smiled grimly. Maybe. Or maybe you don't understand what humans can do when we fight for our survival. On the screen, the human forces plunged into the Devourer formation, weapons blazing. The battle for Earth's future was reaching its climax. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Hundreds of species shouted at once, their translation devices creating a wall of sound. Some demanded explanations. Others called for emergency sessions. A few simply stared at the screens in disbelief. Counselor Vanara raised her crystalline hands, calling for order. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. This is unprecedented, she said. Ambassador Hyunwoo, your species has deployed weapon systems that violate multiple galactic regulations, technology that was deemed too dangerous even for military use. How long have you been preparing for this? Hyunwoo stood calmly at his position. Since the day we joined the council, we read the history files. We saw how many species the Devourers had destroyed. We saw how the council voted when those species asked for help. We learned what we needed to learn. You deceived us, another counselor accused. You came as peaceful explorers. You said you wanted to learn from us. We did want to learn, Hyunwoo said. And we did. We learned that in this galaxy, you survive on your own strength or you don't survive at all. Counselor Thalrix stood slowly. His ancient body moved with effort, but his voice was strong. Your weapons, the plasma lances, the quantum drives, where did you get the resources to build them? We built them ourselves, Hyunwoo said. Every asteroid mining operation we started had a dual purpose. Every research station we established was also a weapons facility. Every cultural exchange program gave us access to your technical databases. We studied everything. We took your theoretical designs and made them real. On the main screen, the human forces drove deeper into the Devourer formation. Shadow Fleet ships flickered in and out of certainty, their weapons cutting through enemy vessels. Fighter squadrons weaved between the larger ships, their coordination perfect. Lieutenant Daeho's fighter took a hit that sent him spinning. He fought the controls, getting his ship back under control just in time to dodge another barrage. Around him, other fighters weren't as lucky. He saw Titan 9 explode, then Titan 15. Stay focused, his squadron leader ordered. We're almost there. The hive ship loomed ahead, massive and dark. It was twice the size of Earth's largest vessel, bristling with weapons and surrounded by a shield that glowed with deadly energy. All fighters concentrate fire on shield generators, Commander Nari ordered from her Shadow Fleet cruiser. We'll punch through together. The combined human forces hit the shield with everything they had. Plasma lances struck in perfectly coordinated patterns. Missiles slammed into weak points. The shield flickered, weakened, and finally collapsed. Shield is down, Sora announced. 60 seconds until it regenerates. All ships full attack, Admiral Minho ordered. Don't hold anything back. Back in. The underground command center, a young scientist named Ji-hoon noticed something on his screen. He had been analyzing the Devourer communication patterns for hours, looking for weaknesses. Dr. Yoonji, he called out. I found something. Yoonji rushed to his station. What is it? Ji-hoon pointed at his display. The hive ship isn't just coordinating the fleet, it's controlling them directly. Every Devourer unit is connected to it through quantum entanglement. If we destroy the hive ship, we don't just disrupt their command structure. We shut down the entire fleet. Yoonji's eyes widened. Are you sure? 98% certain, Ji-hoon said. The communication patterns are clear. No hive ship, no fleet. Yoonji immediately contacted Admiral Minho. Admiral, new intelligence. The hive ship is the key. Destroy it, and the entire enemy force goes dormant. Minho absorbed this information. All forces' priority target is the hive ship. Focus everything on it. This is our chance to end this. Dr. Yoonji knew what she had to do. She had designed the quantum destabilization warhead herself. It was the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created, and someone had to deliver it directly to the hive ship's core. I'm taking a bomber, she announced to her team. "Doctor, you don't have to do this," one of her assistants said. "Yes, I do," Yunji replied. "I built this weapon. I know exactly how it works and where it needs to hit. I'm the best chance we have." She walked to the hangar where a heavy bomber waited. The quantum destabilization warhead sat in its bay, a small device that could tear a hole in space-time itself. In the wrong hands, it could destroy a planet. In the right place, it would end this war. Yunji climbed into the cockpit. She had flight training, though she hadn't flown combat missions before. Today would be a first. "Launch sequence initiated," she said into her radio. "This is Dr. Yunji, requesting clearance for attack run." Admiral Minho's voice came back. "Clearance granted." "Yunji, you don't have to do this." "I know," she said, "but I'm going anyway. Tell my family I love them." She launched before anyone could argue further. The bomber accelerated toward the battle. Yunji flew carefully, avoiding the worst of the fighting. She wasn't a combat pilot and she knew it, but she had a clear mission and a steady hand. Commander Nari saw the bomber on her sensors. "All Shadow Fleet ships protect that bomber. Whatever it takes." The Shadow Fleet formed up around Yunji's vessel, creating a protective corridor through the chaos. Enemy fire hammered their shields. 2 ships were destroyed, providing cover, but the bomber kept moving forward. Lieutenant Deho recognized the bomber's signature. "That's Dr. Yunji. She built Project Nightfall. What's she doing out here?" "Her job," his squadron leader said. "Now let's do ours. All fighters clear a path." The fighter squadrons dove ahead of the bomber, their weapons blazing. They destroyed targeting systems, drew fire away from Yunji, and sacrificed themselves to buy her seconds of safety. Yunji saw the hive ship growing closer. Its weapons locked onto her bomber. She jinked left, then right, barely avoiding the blasts. Her shields were dropping fast. "Almost there," she whispered to herself. In the council chamber, every species watched in silence. They saw the lone bomber pushing through impossible odds. They saw dozens of human ships sacrificing themselves to protect it. "What are they doing?" someone asked. "They're winning," Counselor Thalric said quietly. "Against all odds, they're actually winning." Yunji's bomber reached the hive ship's hull. She activated her scanner, looking for the exact point Jehun had identified. The ship's power core buried deep inside. She found it. Target locked. Engaging weapons, the quantum destabilization warhead launched. It wasn't fast like a missile. It moved slowly, phasing in and out of normal space as it approached its target. Nothing could stop it because it wasn't always there to be stopped. The warhead passed through the hive ship's armor like it didn't exist. It reached the power core and detonated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space around the hive ship began to twist. Reality itself seemed to bend and tear. The massive vessel imploded, collapsing into a point of absolute darkness before vanishing completely. Across the battlefield, every devourer ship suddenly went dark. Their weapons stopped firing, their engines cut off. Thousands of enemy vessels drifted in space, completely inactive. "It worked," Admiral Minho said in disbelief. "By all the stars, it actually worked." Yunji pulled her bomber away from the destruction. She had survived. Somehow, impossibly, she had survived. "All forces, cease fire," Minho ordered. "The battle is over. We won." In the council chamber, absolute silence reigned. The councilors stared at the screens showing the dormant devourer fleet. Thousands of enemy ships neutralized by a single warhead delivered by one brave pilot. Counselor Venara turned to Hyunwoo. "What was that weapon?" "A quantum destabilization warhead," Hyunwoo said. "It creates a localized collapse in space-time. Extremely dangerous, banned by 17 different galactic treaties." "You used a forbidden weapon," Venara said. "We used it to survive," Hyunwoo corrected. "We used it because you left us no choice." Thalrix looked at the tactical display showing human casualties. "You lost 60% of your fleet." "We did," Hyunwoo agreed. His voice was heavy. "Good people died today. Heroes died today. They died protecting Earth while the Council watched and did nothing." The words hung in the air like an accusation, because that's exactly what they were. Counselor Venara's crystalline form pulsed with conflicting colors. "This changes everything. Humanity is not what we thought. Your species is far more capable than we believed. We tried to tell you," Hyunwoo said. "You didn't listen." On Earth, people emerged from the underground shelters. They looked up at the sky where human ships still patrolled, watching the dormant enemy fleet. Humanity had survived. Against impossible odds, they had survived. Admiral Minho contacted all forces. All ships, well done. Return to base for repairs and rest. You've earned it. He closed his eyes, feeling the weight of command settle on him. They had won the battle, but at terrible cost. And now the galaxy knew what humanity was capable of. The question was, what would happen next? 1 month had passed since the battle. Earth looked different now. Cities were being rebuilt. Memorials stood where heroes had fallen. The sky was full of construction vessels repairing orbital stations. Humanity was healing, but the scars would remain forever. Admiral Minho stood at the observation window of Defense Station Alpha, watching the work crews below. His hair had more gray in it than before the battle. He had lost many friends. Good soldiers, people he had known for decades. "Admiral, you have a visitor," his aide announced. Ambassador Hyunwoo entered the command deck. He looked tired but determined. "Admiral, I wanted to speak with you before I return to the council." "You're going back?" Minho asked. "After what they did?" "Especially after what they did," Hyunwoo said. "Things have changed. The council wants to talk. Really talk this time." He handed Minho a data pad. 23 species have requested military cooperation agreements. 15 want to buy our weapons technology. 8 have formally apologized for the vote against us. Minho read through the list. "They're scared." "They should be," Hyunwoo said. "We defeated the Devourers. Their entire fleet is dormant in our space. We control thousands of enemy ships now. That makes us one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy." "We didn't want to be a military power," Minho said quietly. "We just wanted to survive." "I know," Hyunwoo agreed. "But survival has consequences." In the council chamber, preparations were underway for an emergency session. Councillor Venara reviewed the agenda with growing concern. Item 1. Immediate consideration of Earth's full membership status. Item 2. Creation of a new Security Council seat. Item 3. Military technology sharing agreements. "This is unprecedented," she said to Thalrix. "We're completely restructuring council operations because of one species. One species that defeated the Devourers," Thalrix reminded her. "My people couldn't do that. Neither could yours. The humans did what we all thought was impossible. They used forbidden weapons," Venara said. "They violated protocols." "They weren't bound by our protocols," Thalrix said. "We made sure of that when we voted against helping them. Now we have to live with the consequences." President Somin sat in her office in Seoul preparing for her address to the Galactic Council. She was Earth's elected leader, a position she had held for 8 years. She had guided humanity through first contact, through integration with the galactic community, and now through war. Her speechwriter stood nearby. "The Council wants you to be diplomatic. They want reassurance that Earth won't use its new military power aggressively." "What I want and what they want are different things," Somin said. She was reviewing her notes, changing words, refining her message. "They abandoned us. They need to understand that has consequences." Across the city, a young girl named Hanul visited a memorial. Her parents' names were carved there, along with thousands of others. They had died defending the Seoul evacuation shelters. She was 14 now, an orphan, but she wasn't alone. Millions of children had lost parents in the battle. She laid flowers at the memorial and made a decision. She would apply to the military academy. She would become like the heroes who saved Earth. She would make sure humanity was never vulnerable again. Ambassador Hyunwoo returned to the council chamber with an escort this time. 20 human security officers accompanied him, all wearing powered armor. The council had offered the escort. Hyunwoo had accepted. It was a small thing, but symbolic. The chamber filled with representatives from 847 species. But today felt different. Counselors who had ignored Earth before now watched Hyunwoo carefully. Some with respect, some with fear, all with new understanding. Counselor Venara called the session to order. "The council recognizes Ambassador Hyunwoo of Earth." "Ambassador, you have the floor." Hyunwoo walked to the center platform. He remembered standing here a month ago begging for help. Today he wasn't begging. "1 month ago I stood here and asked for your help," he said. "You voted no. You left my people to die. We didn't die. We fought, we bled, we sacrificed, and we won." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The council needs to understand something. Humanity doesn't forget. We don't forgive easily. When you abandoned us, you taught us a valuable lesson. In this galaxy, you stand alone or you stand with reliable friends. The council proved it wasn't a reliable friend. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some counselors looked uncomfortable. Good, Hyunwoo thought. They should be uncomfortable. However, he continued, humanity is not vengeful. We're practical. We know the galaxy needs cooperation. We know species must work together to face common threats. So when the council asked us to reconsider our membership, we agreed to discuss it. Venara spoke. The council has prepared a proposal. Earth would be granted full membership immediately, bypassing the normal probationary period. Additionally, we propose creating a permanent seat on the Security Council for Humanity. The chamber erupted in surprised conversations. A permanent security seat was rare. Only 7 species held such positions. They were the most influential voices in galactic politics. In exchange, Venara continued, Earth would share certain technologies with the Council. Specifically, your quantum drive systems and plasma lance designs. These would be used to establish a new joint defense force to counter future devourer incursions. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. The Council wants our weapons. We want to ensure the galaxy is protected, Venara said carefully. Protected, Hyunwoo repeated. Interesting word. Where was that concern when Earth was under attack? Thalric stood. Ambassador, I understand your anger. It is justified. My species made the same mistake 8,000 years ago, when we faced the devourers alone. We barely survived. We lost billions. I voted against helping you, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. He looked around the chamber, but we cannot change the past. We can only build a better future. Humanity has proven itself, not just as warriors but as innovators, as survivors. As a species that finds solutions where others see only death, the galaxy needs that strength. Hyunwoo considered this. He had discussed the situation with President So-min and Admiral Minho. They had made their decision. Earth accepts the Council's proposal with conditions, Hyunwoo said. First, we will share some military technology, but not all. Some systems remain exclusively human. Second, any joint defense force must include human commanders at all levels. Third, the Council must establish a mutual defense treaty with real enforcement. Never again will a member species be abandoned to face extinction alone. Those are significant demands, Venara said. They are fair demands, Hyunwoo replied. Humanity learned we can't trust promises. We need guarantees backed by force. Either the Council agrees to protect its members or it admits it's just a debating society. The chamber fell silent. What Hyunwoo proposed would fundamentally change how the Council operated. For millions of years, they had been a loose alliance of species that traded and talked, but rarely took unified action. Hyunwoo was demanding they become something more. The Council will vote, Venara announced. All in favor of Earth's full membership with the stated conditions? Green lights appeared across the chamber. Hyunwoo counted them. 100, 300, 500. The number kept climbing. Finally, it stopped at 789. All opposed? Only 58 red lights appeared. The motion passes, Venara announced. Earth is granted full Council membership and a permanent Security Council seat. The Mutual Defense Treaty will be drafted and presented for ratification within 30 days. Hyunwoo nodded. They had done it. Earth was no longer a provisional member begging for acceptance. They were a full partner with real power. President So-min's hologram appeared on the chamber's main screen. She had been watching from Earth. Counselors, she said, I want to be very clear about humanity's position. We did not seek war. We did not want to become a military power. But you forced our hand. When you abandoned us, you showed us the truth about this galaxy. She paused, her expression serious. Humanity has one rule that guides everything we do. We protect our own, our families, our friends, our allies. We were alone before. We won't be again, and neither will any species that chooses to stand with us. It was both a promise and a warning. The Council heard both. We will share our technology, So-min continued. We will help build a real defense force. But understand this. If another crisis comes, if another species faces extinction, humanity will act, with Council approval or without it. Because we remember what it's like to stand alone. We remember what it's like to be abandoned. And we will never let another species suffer what we suffered. The hologram faded. In the chamber, counselors sat in stunned silence. President So-min had just announced that Earth would intervene in galactic affairs, whether the Council approved or not. It was unprecedented, revolutionary, perhaps necessary. Admiral Minho received the news from the council on his command deck. He read the agreement terms and nodded slowly. We did it. We actually did it. We changed everything, his aide said. We survived, Minho corrected. We changed everything because we had to survive. He thought about the soldiers lost in the battle, the pilots who sacrificed themselves, the civilians who died defending their cities. They hadn't fought to become a galactic power. They fought to save their families, to protect their world. But their sacrifice had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. Hanul stood in line at the Military Academy registration office. Hundreds of other young people waited with her. All of them had lost family in the battle. All of them had decided to serve. Why do you want to join? The recruiter asked when it was her turn. Hanul thought about her parents, about the heroes who saved Earth, about the galaxy that had abandoned them. Because next time I want to be ready, she said simply. The recruiter understood. He processed her application and handed her a temporary ID badge. Welcome to Earth Defense Forces, Recruit Hanul. Your training starts next week. She took the badge and walked out into the sunlight. Above her, construction crews worked on new orbital stations. Defense satellites moved into position. Humanity was building, preparing, making sure they would never be vulnerable again. In the council chamber, Ambassador Hyunwoo prepared to leave. Counselor Thalrix approached him. You changed the galaxy today, the old counselor said. We didn't want to, Hyunwoo replied. We just wanted to survive. Sometimes survival requires change, Thalrix said. He extended his hand in the human gesture of respect. Welcome to the council, Ambassador. I look forward to working with you. Hyunwoo shook his hand. Just remember one thing, Counselor. Humanity has a long memory. We remember who stood with us and who didn't. The council voted the right way today. Let's hope they continue to do so. He walked out of the chamber with his escort, leaving behind a council that would never be the same. Earth spun in the darkness of space, wounded but healing. Around it, humanity's ships kept watch. The Devourer fleet remained dormant, proof of humanity's power. And across the stars, species that had once dismissed humans as young and weak now understood the truth. Humanity had arrived, not as students or junior partners, but as warriors who had earned their place through blood and sacrifice. The galaxy would never underestimate them again. The age of humanity had begun.